Hello and welcome to Flavors of Africa. I'm Kevin Ufuebune.
Kedu kakime. I'm Doris Ufuebune.
We're greeting you in English and Igbo.
Yes, Igbo is a Nigerian language.
Yes, and English happens to be the official language of Nigeria. And today we're going to look at Nigeria's people, the Igbo people particularly.
Yes, Igbo people are hardworking people in Nigeria. They are resilient. They are family-oriented. You name it, we have it. I happen to be an Igbo, and I'm proud to be an Igbo.
We have more about Igbo culture and Igbo cuisine coming up on Flavors of Africa. Stay tuned. And welcome back to Flavors of Africa. Today we're celebrating the Igbo people of southeastern Nigeria as well as in the diaspora. And I'm excited to see what the Igbo have to offer in terms of the food, the delicious cooking.
A lot. We have lots to offer. You know, the food is going to be delicious.
Exactly. But before we get into the food, we're going to take a look at some of the viewer mail that you guys have been sending us over the weeks. And again, if you want to continue to write to us, that's flavorsofafrica@shaw.ca. Make sure that you follow us on Twitter and also like our Facebook page. If you have something to communicate to us, you have maybe a charity, some development work you're doing in Africa to empower the people, definitely want to hear from you. If you're,
we want to hear about it.
You know, if you're talented, if you're a poet, if you're a singer, come on and entertain us, and that'll be perfect. So the first viewer mail we get is from Benjamin. It says, "Hi, Kevin." Hello. Now, you always talk about multiculturalism and cultural awareness on your show. I came to Canada in my teens with my mom and my two brothers. For many years, I was embarrassed to speak my language, and I tried to suppress my heritage, thinking that I had to fit in. To see you embracing your culture makes me think of all the years I lost trying to be somebody that I'm not. I still speak with an accent, and I'm proud of this. I'm able to bring my cultural dishes to work and not feel the need to hide them. Very good. I now have a baby on the way, and I'm wondering what strategies can I use to make sure that he or she embraces his or her culture as well as their Canadian identity. That's from Benjamin again.
This is very interesting.
Oh, very interesting. I mean, it's kind of neat that he directed it at me, but well, I would say that, you know, for me, it's always been something that's been interesting for me. Nigeria has always intrigued me, like with Nollywood. I know I was talking about the movies, but that was a big way for me to sort of have that window into my culture and really explore and really be proud of it. So little things like that, the music, the food, you know, the things that are on the surface.
Yeah, well, I can relate to it because I'm an immigrant myself. You were born in Canada. And I must tell you that the major hurdle that I faced coming here is having to retrain as a teacher, you know, going back to school because I couldn't practice as a teacher. So other than that, I never had the need, you know, to fit in, to change who I am. You know, but it's an individual thing. If you believe in yourself and believe in your culture, you want to practice your culture, Canada has given us the opportunity to do that. So, you know. Yeah.
I mean, he talks about what strategies he's going to use on his child.
Yes,
he's going to bring into this world. And I just think that giving the child like the opportunity to choose, pick and choose, and to be exposed to everything.
Exactly.
I think that
it's very important.
Beneficial.
Yeah, it is. It
so
sure
thank you very much, Benjamin, for sending that in. That's interesting. Next mail that we have is from Christopher Malone. It says, "Dear Doris and Kevin Ufuebune, I really liked the episode you had on South Sudan and the lawyer that came in to speak. I believe his name was Joshua Sutherland.
Awesome.
The session was very informative, and it hit home because it makes me think back to the days in the office before I retired and how I was bullying my coworkers." Not very good. But well, looking back, he says, "I feel so ashamed of myself, even though these years have passed. After the show, I decided to volunteer my time in the community to help challenge bullying in the educational and occupational setting. Keep up the good work." That's Christopher Malone.
Wow, fantastic.
Well, that's neat that, great, you know, we had a guest that sort of speaks to those, issues.
At least he realized his mistakes and he's trying to fix it. It's never too late, you know, to change, right?
Exactly. So, I mean, it's nice that he's addressed that and now he's making a change. And volunteering. And we hope to definitely bring more guests on this show and tell us what you want to see and tell us if you want to be a guest on the show to talk about the social issues, cultural issues, you know.
Thank you so much. Yeah. That's interesting. What's the next mail?
So this is from Joseph Chukujirindum.
Yeah. Wow. Chukujerendum.
That's the Igbo word
God
for sure.
has my life. That's interesting, yeah.
That's what it means.
Awesome.
Perfect. So it says Flavors of Africa. I noticed that you maintain your full last name, speaking of last names, instead of shortening it, because I am sure that many Canadians cannot pronounce it. My last name was Chukujirindum, and I shortened it to Indum, and it's still pronounced as Endum. I like the fact that it is now shorter, but it would have been better had I kept the original spelling and pronunciation. Do you think that Canada allows us to practice multiculturalism? Do you ever get asked the notorious question, where are you from? And if so, how do you deal with it?
What do you think?
Well, I mean, our last name is pretty unique, I think. And it's, speaking about the Igbo people, how common is that name? But, I mean, again, it's all what you decide to do.
Exactly. But I don't see myself changing or shortening it. I teach people how to say it. I know it's a difficult name because of the GB. Sometimes people don't know how to say it. But that makes it interesting. That makes it unique. That's true. You can't really, I mean,
it depends on the person, like we say. But, I mean, I like to keep everything kind of unique. And it's that part of your identity.
Exactly.
Like, in talking about when people ask you, various people might ask you, Nigerians might ask you, whoever, where you're from, it's sort of opens that dialogue where you can talk about your culture. So for me, I look at it as an invitation to talk about where I'm from and what I love. So I can open the floor and say, my background is Nigerian. We have a big growing movie industry that you might not know of. We have developing, booming cities and things like that people might know about. And also Canada, being proud of being born in Canada. Not many people know about Winnipeg and Ottawa and, places that I lived before this interesting city of Calgary.
But I guess the reason why sometimes people ask is, if you're born in Canada, you have a Canadian accent. You have Canadian accent and you speak like Canadian. And when people say, where are you from? It's different because, I guess that's what he's relating to. Because when they ask me, I know I have my accent. When they say, where are you from? I say, well, I was born in Nigeria, right? But for you, it's so different when you speak.
Well, I mean, like either way, it might be. It might be, but I do see it as an invitation, and it's all how you kind of look at things, looking at the positives.
Exactly. So basically, what we're saying is that not everything is racism. When people say, "Where are you from?" It's it becomes a conversation piece for you to say, "Well, hey, my parents are born in Nigeria. I was born in Canada." You have something to talk about. It's like, true. Oh, the weather is beautiful and stuff like that.
It's true. I mean, and then you can also ask them. You can ask the question back to whoever asks you. Sometimes you can keep things broad. I mean, a lot of people are always asking this question, and how do you respond to it? But, if somebody asks you, then that means that they want to have that conversation with you. And I don't see the problem in saying, and what is your cultural background as well, and finding more about that person in particular. And also make sure that if you're going to ask somebody, I think, about their background and where they're from, it doesn't hurt to have that as maybe the third conversation.
Yeah, and
the third question that you're asking, you're talking about in the conversation, and you also have to be open to sharing.
Yes, exactly.
Back to the sharing as well. So, well, keep it coming again. That's flavorsofafrica@shaw.ca. Tweet us, like us on Facebook, and make sure that you also check out our YouTube channel.
Yes. That's very important. That's how you can reach us.
Check out our YouTube channel at Flavors of Africa. Flavors of Africa.
Okay.
Very easy.
And tweet us.
Tweet us. Flavors of Africa.
_Africa. Right? Yep. Awesome. So, should we take a break and come back and continue?
Sounds good. That sounds good. More about Igbo culture when we return. And welcome back to Flavors of Africa. Today we're celebrating the Igbo people. And before we get into a little bit of Nigerian heritage, we just have one more viewer mail to read. And it says, hello. I find it interesting the good job that you are doing on your show. A suggestion I would like to make. It would be helpful if the ingredients could be listed on the screen at the end of the cooking. Sometimes we miss the beginning and don't know what ingredients are used. Thanks, no name. What I would say is, our YouTube channel, which I've been talking extensively about. So if you miss any of the episodes, we're going to have those. We have those on YouTube. Those are the first, as well as the second season. Username is Flavors of Africa.
Yes.
And that will...
Yeah, once they type it in, they will see us. And it has all the episodes that we've already done, you know, step by step. However, we have the cookbook coming. You know, it's in the works. So pretty soon we'll have it. And we're going to make sure that you're able to follow it. So that's why it's taking a long time. So, you know, keep writing to us, keep watching.
And in the meantime, if you have any questions, any other questions in regards to our dishes and our meals, just feel free to drop us a note, tweet us, and email us.
Awesome, awesome. Well, you know, while we're still talking about
the Igbo
people cooking, we're going to continue with the Igbo people because, you know, I am, like I already said, I'm so proud to be an Igbo. So please, you know, take it away.
Well, you know, I mean, the part that I find amazing about Igbo history is the women's war, the women's riots. And that was when women sort of opposed taxation and they really spoke up in one voice.
Yes.
And even their impacts have been felt in women's movements across Nigeria. And this happened in the early part of the 20th century when they were sort of opposing male rule and opposing taxation and opposing colonialism. And I think that that's a part of a history that really needs to be celebrated because oftentimes it's ignored.
Yes, I know.
And, you know.
My mom used to tell me stories about those. And, you know, for women to stand up for themselves, to say, no, we're not going to take this. Because you don't hear this all the time. You know, most of the time people hear that African women, they are so submissive, but they are really hardworking and they know their rights. So that's why this Igbo movement, the women's movement in the 19th century is very, very important.
Yes.
So that's why
so
we
more
need
part
to
of the
address
20th
it.
century, but it's a really remarkable piece of history.
Century.
Earlier part of the 20th century. And I mean, apart from that, it's really interesting because we talk about the Igbo culture, but we haven't realized how much it's changed over the years because when, upon European contact, they sort of amalgamated the different types of Igbo groups and subgroups, like all together without mentioning their differences in arts and in music and things like that. I mean, it's really interesting how it's changed, and an overwhelming majority of Igbo people are now Christian, particularly Catholic, and we're all over in the diaspora. Because of the slave trade, a lot of Igbo people moved into Cameroon and parts of the Caribbean and America, and now all over Europe and all over the world.
It is. And what's so interesting about this women's movement, when I was reading about it,
going back to that,
is that when they were, you know, during a taxation period, where, you know, normally they would tax women, but they would tax men, but all of a sudden, some widows were being taxed. They were counting their the people, the children, everything. The more animal you have, like goats, the more tax you had to pay. So when they looked at it, they said, no, we're not going to do this because it has never happened. So why all of a sudden you guys want to tax us because we have goats, we have sheep, we have everything? And they opposed it. You know, so if they didn't do it, today women will you know, continue to, you know, go in the same direction. So somebody has to make the change. And it's the same here in Western world too, that women stood up for themselves. You know, if you talk about the famous 5, right? And it's the same in Canada. So it's the same thing. So where they go, Igbo women are strong women and they're very industrious. So
yeah, well, when you talk about the industry, part of that was the markets, that they would have markets in the town where they would control, you know, resources and finances and also socialize. So I had those functions, and then to come in and oppose taxes was very difficult for them. So it's very interesting. I mean, I love Igbo music.
Yes.
The clothing.
We love everything that has to do with Igbo. So I guess next time we're going to talk more in depth about Igbo society, because there's so many ways. The marriage ceremony, the
naming ceremonies.
Exactly. So many things, you know, the festivals. We haven't even touched that. So that will be on another episode.
Yeah, definitely more to explore. So we'll get into the food.
Exactly. So today we're going to make beans in celebration of Igbo women. beans. That's the black-eyed beans. That's what we have here cooking. And as you know, it's full of fiber and it's very nutritious. So that's what we're going to make for you, our wonderful viewers. So to begin with, we just need to add a little bit of oil. So, and then we're going to make our sauce that goes into the beans. So to begin with, we're gonna add some onions.
Perfect, I'll do that.
Okay.
Onions seem to be a popular dish and a popular vegetable used in African dishes.
Yes, I mean, it's very aromatic and it has some nutritional values to it too.
So we'll let that
so
sit.
while the onions is cooking, we're just gonna cook it down for just 5 minutes. And remember, the beans is cooking. The beans takes about a total of 1 hour to cook. And sometimes, if you want to quicken the cooking method or the cooking time, the best way to do it is to soak your beans. In one of the episodes, I was talking about soaking the beans after you washed it. Oh, by the way, you need to salt it, because just because it was bought in it was packaged doesn't mean that you don't need to wash it. So when you buy your beans and it's packaged, please do salt it to remove anything that you don't want in your beans, okay? And then you need to wash it. Then after it's washed, then you cook it, okay? So that's how it's going to be. And I also want to mention that there are so many kinds of beans, black-eyed beans. This one here is a little fat. That's the best. A few weeks ago, I went to this store and I bought a bag of beans, and it was really, really tiny. But when I tried to cook it, it wasn't really cooking for a long time. So that's why it's very important that when you're buying your beans, please make sure you buy one that is almost like this, okay? So now we can mix the onions, and then the next thing we're going to add is the tomato paste. So the tomato paste is what gives the beans its color and makes it nutritious, okay? And I have the cayenne pepper. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of cayenne pepper, and I have the curry powder, just a tiny bit. You know, you just need to eyeball it, and then of course a little bit of salt, not too much, because you want everything to be natural. You don't want to, you know, overpower it with salt. No sugar, as I said. Some people use sugar or fat. But in African dishes, especially at Flavors of Africa, everything we make is organic. So we try not to use, you know, packaged or what do I say?
Well,
like,
pre-packaged,
exactly.
like in the
so
spirit of African cooking.
Yeah, exactly. So while this one is cooking, I tell you the trick. So we're gonna add it here, okay? Can I borrow this spoon? Okay, so we mix it up and then we let it cook. So that's basically what it is. You see how easy it is? It's so easy.
It's really smelling delicious, very tempting.
Okay, so I guess we're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, we're gonna, you know, tell you more about our beans and then show you the finished product. So stay tuned.
Welcome back to Flavors of Africa. Today we took a look at Igbo culture. The Igbo people are a cultural group, an ethnic group in Nigeria, and we cooked beans.
Yeah, it's in celebration of that, the black-eyed beans.
So we have a dish that's cooking, and we have one that's already made.
And we have it here for you, our wonderful viewers. So we're gonna serve it.
Maybe I can hold that for you, and you can.
Okay. You can do that.
Teamwork.
It's always important.
It looks delicious.
It sure does.
You can smell it. You know that.
Okay, the aroma.
Yeah.
So, and you know what else that is good with these beans?
Plantain.
Plantain.
Lots and lots of plantain.
Exactly.
That's perfect.
So that's what we have, and I'm gonna get paper. Thank you so much. We talked about the market, the Igbo women and the market, you know, because the market is very important to Igbo women, because that was in those days, and even till today, because that's where women, you know.
Well, the ingredients. Exactly. That's where they bought a lot of the ingredients and the vegetables that they needed to cook food at home. Exactly. So it's a very significant thing.
And even to send their children to colleges. I'm telling you that through, you know, trading, you know,
simple trading.
Market, just like the Iseluku, the Afro market that I always tell you about.
In Delta State, Nigeria.
Exactly. So that's really very significant in Igbo culture, the market, right?
Yeah.
So now we have finished the beans for you, our wonderful viewers, and we hope that you can try it at home. It's really delicious.
And if you do get to try it, make sure that you tweet us, email us, and let us know how it goes. We would love to hear from you.
Exactly. So thank you so much for watching Flavors of Africa. As we always say, remember that cultures that eat together stay together. Through food, we can continue to appreciate diversity and promote cultural unity.
That's right. Take care.